John, this is a big deal for me. You may not think it's a big deal, but to sit here with John Carpenter and have you introduce a couple of movies means a lot. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. I love what you do on this channel.
John Carpenter, a horror film legend, writer, director, composer, editor. As you go through life and consider the films that you have made, do you think this is a nice little legacy that I've got?
You know, the movies that I made were roundly criticized by critics.
Yeah.
So I remember that in the back of my head. And I think to myself, I'm kind of a piece of trash, you know? And people don't think of horror directors as seriously. They think we're next to pornographers.
There are a lot of people who think that. That's right.
They think, why are you doing these terrible things? We're telling stories that we can all gather around the campfire and listen to, like they did way back when. Like the medicine man of the tribe would come out and talk in the firelight about evil. And he'd tell about evil, where it comes from. And there's two kinds, the evil within and the evil outside. Now, the easier one to tell stories about is the evil outside.
Sure, something coming to get you.
Within is tougher.
Well, you picked a double feature, 2 for 1. Frankenstein, James Whale's 1931 seminal, groundbreaking horror film, and then a remake and the movie that kicked off Hammer's horror craze, which is The Curse of Frankenstein, made 26 years later, 1957. What do you look for in a horror film? What grabs you?
Well, it's all about the story and then how various directors deal with the story and then how the actors respond to the material. Frankenstein and The Curse of Frankenstein are both side by side. They're two visions of a story written by Mary Shelley. The first Frankenstein with Boris Karloff is unbelievable. When you first see the monster, he's standing across the room from the camera. Camera does a shot, cut closer and closer. It ends up on Karloff's face.
You can imagine what kind of reaction that got in theaters in 1931.
In 1931, you know it. It's all about the creator and the creation. Frankenstein's monster is different. He's not like us.
You talk about the monster and outsider, somebody who doesn't feel like they belong, somebody who doesn't belong. I imagine when you're making, we'll go to your best-known film, Halloween, how much of the way James Whale did Frankenstein is informing you as you write and direct Halloween?
Everything about that James Whale did informs me in Halloween. The way the creature moves, his otherness. Oh, hell yeah. I'm a big James Whale fan.
You talked about Karloff, and of course, we know that Bela Lugosi was offered the part and I think cast as the part. I think you shot some of the movie or at least did some tests, but his portrayal was seen as too sympathetic for what they wanted.
He said, I'm a star in Hungary, and I will not be a scarecrow here in the United States.
Which is an understandable thing to say and an understandable take, but it makes you appreciate what a good actor Boris Karloff is, right? Because,
huge.
Okay, maybe he grunted, but that is a performance.
Times 100, he was just brilliant. But the thing about, this is a pre-code movie.
Yeah.
And it had things in it that had to be cut out.
Even though it was a pre-code movie, right?
One of the sequences, the most famous sequence, is the little girl being thrown into Malibu Lake. That's where they shot the sequence. And she was picked up by Karloff and tossed in, and they had to cut it before he threw her.
And he's playing with her.
Yeah, he doesn't know any better.
He threw the flowers in the lake, so he picks up the girl.
Picks her up, throws her in.
Yeah.
The other thing is a line that Colin Clive says.
In the name of God, now I know what it feels like to be God.
Had to go.
All of that, thankfully, was restored later.
Yes,
and of course,
it was.
it'll be in the version that you're about to see. So let's watch it now, and then
wait.
we'll come back afterwards, talk some more. John Carpenter, you're the best. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Here's the film from Universal in 1931. This is James Whale's Frankenstein. I'm back with John Carpenter, one of the great filmmakers of his generation. And so Frankenstein profoundly influenced you, certainly in Halloween, but I imagine other films as well.
Everything I've done, James Whale, the director of Frankenstein, has influenced me. But the movie itself, just the way it was done, is just brilliant.
I'm anxious to get to Curse of Frankenstein because I want to compare it to Frankenstein. But one of the differences is Colin Clive, as Henry Frankenstein here, is redeemed, right? He recognizes what a terrible thing he's done, whereas Curse of Frankenstein,
No.
he leans in, which I love. Do you have no issue with the redemption of Henry Frankenstein here?
No, I have no issue, but I also recognize the time in which this was made. You couldn't do what Curse of Frankenstein does. You couldn't do that with the main character. You
Right,
could not do it.
The quarter century of time that lapsed, big difference.
Yeah, people matured, and the audiences matured, and you know he had to be saved because his bride had to be saved, and you know everybody had to live happily.
Right. Mae Clark as Elizabeth here in a role originally set to go to Bette Davis.
Yeah, which I can't understand at all.
Well, you see how good Whale was at casting, too. I mean, I ask this of almost every director I sit with. Casting and your work with actors, most important part of your job, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You have to be, as a director, you have to be there for the actors to guide them to their performance. That's all the directing is. To guide them to the best performance they can give. And when you choose somebody for a role, that's essential. That's where it all happens, right there. Your choice, that choice.
Bette Davis, Whale thought, was too fierce, too strong
Exactly.
to play a helpless victim.
She would totally unbalance the movie. A star in that role, like Joan Crawford or Bette Davis or somebody like that,
Even though she wasn't yet a big star, but he saw it.
completely unbalanced this movie. You needed somebody who's kind of could fade away into a scene and be there. The acting, the style is so different.
It also informs how unbelievably spectacular Karloff's performance is and how it's leaps and bounds different and ahead of everybody else in the movie.
It's unbelievable. A superlative performance. He was the movie, and the makeup that he had to go through, and
Jack Pierce, great makeup artist, 5
Bolts.
hours every day.
bolts. Can you imagine that?
And then that scene where he carries Dr. Frankenstein's body up the hill, which shot take after take after take. There's no stuntman there. That is Boris Karloff.
That's correct.
Carrying Colin Clive each time, and Karloff, back problems, hospitalized afterwards. A great double feature would be to see Boris Karloff in Frankenstein, and then to see Karloff in Peter Bogdanovich's first film,
Targets?
Yeah, which is a really great film and a great first film.
Yeah.
And it really showcases what a
Yeah.
gifted actor Karloff
Oh,
was
huge.
in any kind of role. John Carpenter, great stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't go away. John and I will return with a remake of Frankenstein, cleverly done more than 25 years later by Hammer Films in Great Britain. The Curse of Frankenstein is next on TCM.
Next on TCM, The Curse of Frankenstein, then Black Tuesday, and later, Big Wednesday. It's been a long week. Stick with TCM tonight.